Josiah Callahan dropped to his knees in the snow. The woman in his arms wasn't breathing. 5 children stood behind her crying, shaking their lips blue as Montana winter sky. The smallest one tugged at her mother's frozen sleeve. "Mama, Mama, please wake up." Josiah pressed his ear to the widow's chest. Faint, so faint. He tore off his coat and threw it over her body. "You ain't dying today," he whispered. "Not while I'm still breathing." He lifted her and ran toward the cabin light, 5 small shadows stumbling after him through the blizzard. Chud. If you want to see how this widow and her 5 children survive, and if this lonely rancher finds something worth living for, subscribe to our channel and stay until the end. Drop a comment telling us what city you're watching from. We love seeing how far our stories travel. Josiah's boots broke through the ice crust. Each step sank knee-deep. The woman weighed almost nothing in his arms. That scared him more than the cold. "Mister?" The oldest boy grabbed his sleeve. "Is Mama gonna die?" Josiah didn't answer. He couldn't. "Keep moving," he said. "All of you, see that light? That's my cabin. Don't stop walking till you reach it." The wind screamed across the Montana plains. Snow came sideways, sharp as glass. Josiah tucked the widow's face against his chest, shielding her from the worst of it. Behind him, 5 children trudged through the storm. The oldest, maybe 10 years old, carried the youngest on his back. A girl in the middle held hands with twin boys who couldn't be more than 4. "I'm cold," one of the twins whimpered. "I know, sweetheart." The older girl's voice cracked. "Just keep walking. Keep walking." Josiah's jaw tightened. What kind of man left his family out here to freeze? He kicked the cabin door open. Heat from the fire hit him like a wall. He laid the widow on the floor near the hearth, then turned back to the children stumbling through the doorway. "Get inside, all of you, now!" The oldest boy set down his little sister. She couldn't have been more than 2, just a tiny thing wrapped in a thin shawl. Her eyes were closed. Josiah's heart stopped. "She ain't moving," he said. The older girl scooped her up, patting her cheeks. "Nellie, Nellie, wake up." Nothing. Josiah grabbed blankets from his bed, wrapping them around the baby. He rubbed her tiny hands between his palms. "Come on, little one, come on." A weak cry. Then another. The girl's legs gave out. She sat on the floor, clutching Nellie, sobbing. "Thank God! Thank God!" Josiah turned back to the widow. Her lips were gray. Her skin felt like ice. "You." He pointed at the oldest boy. "What's your name?" "Samuel, sir. Samuel Pruitt." "Samuel, there's a kettle on the stove. Fill it from the bucket in the corner. Get water boiling." "Yes, sir." "And you?" Josiah looked at the older girl. "What do they call you, Charlotte?" "I'm 13. "Charlotte, I need you to get your brothers and sisters out of those wet clothes. There's shirts in that chest by the wall. They'll be too big, but they're dry." Charlotte nodded, wiping her tears. "Yes, sir." Josiah leaned over the widow. He pressed his hand to her forehead. Cold. Too cold. He started removing her frozen boots. The leather was stiff, crackling as he pulled. Her stockings were soaked through. "Mama?" One of the twins crept closer. "Is Mama sick?" Josiah looked at the boy. Same brown eyes as his mother. Same fear in them. "What's your name, son?" "Thomas." "That's my brother Henry." "Thomas, your mama's gonna be fine. But I need you to be brave. Can you do that?" Thomas nodded slowly. "Good boy. Go help your sister." Josiah worked quickly. Coat off, shawl off. He wrapped the widow in every blanket he owned, layering them one over another. "Samuel, how's that water coming?" "Almost boiling, sir." "Pour some in a cup. Not too hot. Add a little cold so it won't burn." Charlotte appeared beside him. Nellie bundled in her arms. "Sir, Mama, she was shaking real bad about an hour ago. Then she just stopped." Josiah's blood ran cold. When the shaking stops, that's when death comes calling. How long were you out there? Charlotte's lip trembled. Since yesterday morning. Yesterday? Josiah stared at her. Where'd you come from? Clearwater. Pa. She stopped. Her face changed. Fear, yes, but something else, too. Shame. Your pa left you out here. Charlotte shook her head quickly. Pa's dead, sir. 3 months now. We was living with Mama's cousin, but... She looked away. He didn't want us no more. Josiah's hands curled into fists. Some men didn't deserve the air they breathed. Samuel. He kept his voice steady. Bring that cup here. Samuel crossed the room, carefully, warm water sloshing. Josiah lifted the widow's head, holding the cup to her lips. Come on, ma'am. Drink. Nothing. He tried again, letting a few drops fall into her mouth. She coughed. Josiah's heart started beating again. That's it. He gave her more. That's it. Keep fighting. Her eyelids fluttered. Brown eyes unfocused, scared. My children, she whispered. They're here, ma'am. All 5 of them. Safe. Her eyes searched the room until she found them. Samuel by the stove, Charlotte holding Nellie Thomas and Henry huddled under a blanket together. Tears slid down her frozen cheeks. Thank you, she breathed. Thank you. Josiah pulled the blankets tighter around her. Don't thank me yet. You ain't out of danger. I'm sorry for the trouble. Ain't no trouble. She tried to sit up. Couldn't. Easy, Josiah said. You need rest. The children, they haven't eaten since... Her voice broke. I'll feed them. You just lie still. He moved to the stove, adding wood to the fire. Samuel watched him with old eyes, eyes that had seen too much for a 10-year-old. Sir, you got any bread? In the cupboard, and there's dried beef hanging by the window. Cut some for your brothers and sisters. Yes, sir. Josiah looked back at the widow. Her eyes were closing again. Hey. He crouched beside her. What's your name, ma'am? Abigail, she whispered. Abigail Pruitt. Mrs. Pruitt, I need you to stay awake. Can you do that? She nodded weakly. Good. You stay with me. Charlotte brought Nellie closer to the fire. The baby had stopped crying, her eyes wide and curious now, watching Josiah move around the cabin. Mr. Henry tugged at Josiah's trouser leg. Are we gonna live here? Josiah looked at the small hand gripping his clothes. Something twisted in his chest. Something he hadn't felt in 5 years. For tonight, he said. We'll figure out the rest tomorrow. But we ain't got nowhere else. Thomas elbowed his brother. Shush, Henry. It's true. Mama said we ain't got nobody. Josiah's throat tightened. 5 years alone. 5 years of silence. 5 years of telling himself he didn't need anyone. Now his cabin was full of children who had nobody. Eat your supper, he said gruffly. Both of you. He stood by the window staring out at the storm. Snow swirled in endless white sheets. The temperature was dropping fast. If he hadn't spotted them when he did. He closed his eyes. Sir, Charlotte's voice was soft. I ain't never got your name. Callahan. Josiah Callahan. Mr. Callahan, She paused. Nobody's helped us in a long time. Not since Pa died. Most folks just look the other way. Josiah turned to face her. In the firelight, she looked so much older than 13. Too much burden on those thin shoulders. Why'd your mama's cousin turn you out? Charlotte's face hardened. He wanted Mama to marry him. Said it was the only way we could stay. And she refused? She told him she'd rather freeze than let him touch her. Josiah felt the rage rise in his chest. Slow burning familiar. What's this cousin's name? Charlotte hesitated. Why do you want to know? Just curious. Virgil Coombs. He owns the Mercantile in Clearwater. Josiah nodded slowly. He knew the name. Knew the man's reputation, too oily smile, grabbing hands, the kind of man who preyed on desperate women. He won't find you here, Josiah said. You don't know Virgil, sir. He don't give up easy. He told Mama she belonged to him now, that Pa owed him money. Did he? Charlotte shrugged. Don't know. Maybe. Pa drank a lot before he got sick. From the floor, Abigail stirred. Charlotte? Charlotte rushed to her mother's side. I'm here, Mama. You shouldn't. Abigail coughed. You shouldn't tell strangers our business. He ain't a stranger, Mama. He saved us. Abigail's eyes found Josiah. Something passed between them, a silent weighing, a measuring of trust. Mr. Callahan, she said weakly, I'm grateful for your kindness, but we'll be on our way soon as the storm passes. On your way where? Silence. That's what I thought. Josiah crossed his arms. You got no money, no supplies, and 5 children under 12. Where exactly are you planning to go? That ain't your concern. It is if you freeze to death a mile from my ranch. Thomas tugged at his mother's blanket. Mama, I like it here. It's warm. Thomas. And the man gave us food, real food, not just broth. Abigail's face crumpled, just for a moment. Then she set her jaw, pride fighting against exhaustion. Josiah recognized that look. He'd seen it in his own mirror plenty of times. Mrs. Pruitt? He softened his voice. Storm won't pass for 2, maybe 3 days. You're in no condition to travel. Your children need rest and food. Stay until you're strong enough to make a plan. I can't pay you. Did I ask for payment? Then what do you want? The question hung in the air. Josiah thought about it. What did he want? 5 years of quiet. 5 years of routine. Wake up, tend the cattle, eat. Alone, sleep alone, repeat. He'd convinced himself that was enough. Looking at this widow and her children, he realized how much he'd been lying to himself. I want you to get warm, he said finally. Rest. Let your children sleep without fear, that's all. Abigail stared at him like he'd spoken a foreign language. Why? Does it matter? Yes. Josiah sat down on the floor near the hearth, close enough to tend the fire, but far enough that she wouldn't feel crowded. My wife, he said quietly, used to say that kindness don't need reasons. She said we help because helping is right, not because we get something back. Your wife? She passed 5 years ago. Her and my boy. Abigail's expression changed. The wariness softened. I'm sorry. So am I. He poked at the fire. But she'd haunt me proper if I left a widow and 5 children to freeze in a blizzard. For the first time, Abigail almost smiled. She sounds like a good woman. She was the best. Nellie started fussing. Charlotte bounced her, gently whispering soothing words. How old is the little one? Josiah asked. 18 months. Abigail's voice caught. She was born after Jacob died. He never got to see her. I'm sorry. Folks keep saying that. Doesn't bring him back. No, it doesn't. Samuel appeared at Josiah's elbow. Sir, there's something scratching at the door. Josiah stood quickly, hand going to the rifle above the mantel. Then he heard a familiar whining. He opened the door. A gray-muzzled dog limped inside, covered in snow. Biscuit, Josiah exhaled. You old fool! Thought you were in the barn. The dog shook snow everywhere, then noticed the children. His tail started wagging. Henry gasped. A dog? Can we pet him? Thomas was already reaching out. Biscuit solved the question himself, lumbering over and licking Thomas's face. Both twins dissolved into giggles. Josiah watched. When was the last time laughter filled this cabin? He couldn't remember. Mr. Callahan, Charlotte spoke up. Why do you live out here all alone? Charlotte, Abigail warned. That's not polite. It's all right, Josiah sat back down. After my wife and son died, I couldn't stay in Kansas. Too many memories. So I came here, built this place, raised cattle. Don't you get lonely? He looked at her, this girl trying so hard to be grown, asking questions with the simple honesty of youth. Sometimes. Mama gets lonely too. She tries to hide it, but I hear her crying at night. Charlotte? Abigail's face flushed. It's true, Mama. You miss Pa something terrible. Abigail turned away, but not before Josiah saw the tears. This woman had buried a husband, been preyed upon by a predator, walked her children through a blizzard with no destination, and still somehow kept them all alive. She was stronger than she knew. Samuel. Josiah stood. Help me get some more blankets from the storage room. It's going to be a cold night. Yes, sir. As they walked to the back of the cabin, Samuel spoke quietly. Sir, that man Virgil, he's going to come looking for us. How do you know? Because he told Mama she was his property now. Said he'd hunt her down if she ran. Josiah's hands clenched. He said that those exact words? Yes, sir. I heard him myself. What else did he say? Samuel's young face went hard. He said he'd put me and my brothers in the orphanage. Said he'd keep Charlotte and Mama for himself. The rage in Josiah's chest turned to ice. Listen to me, Samuel. He crouched to the boy's level. No one is taking you or your family anywhere, not while you're under my roof. You understand. Samuel's lip trembled. But you're just one man. One man with a rifle and a reason to fight. That's enough. Samuel stared at him. Then slowly he nodded. Pa used to say something like that, before he got sick. Your pa sounds like he was a good man. He was. Samuel's voice broke. He was the best. Josiah put his hand on the boy's shoulder. Let's get those blankets. By midnight, the children were asleep. Samuel curled near the fire with his brothers. Charlotte slept sitting up, Nellie in her arms. Biscuit lay across the twins' feet like a living blanket. Only Abigail stayed awake, her fever-bright eyes fixed on the flames. Josiah sat in his chair by the window, rifle across his lap. You should sleep, he said. Can't. Why not? Every time I close my eyes, I see them. My children, freezing in the snow. Her voice caught. I thought we were going to die, Mr. Callahan. I thought I was going to watch my babies die. But you didn't. Only because you found us. She turned to look at him. Why were you out in that storm? One of my calves went missing. I was looking for her. Did you find her? Josiah shook his head. Found something better. Abigail was quiet for a long moment. You don't even know us. I know enough. You know we're trouble. Virgil won't just forget. He'll come with the sheriff, probably. Claim I stole from him or some such lie. Let him come. Mr. Callahan. Josiah. She blinked. What? My name. Call me Josiah. Another long silence. Josiah. She tasted the name like something unfamiliar. You can't fight the whole town. Won't need to. Just one man. Virgil's got money. Power. The sheriff's his cousin. Then I'll go over the sheriff's head. To who? Josiah's jaw set. I know people in Helena. Good people. Law-abiding people. If Virgil tries anything, he'll answer for it. Abigail shook her head slowly. You don't owe us anything. Mrs. Pruitt. Abigail. If I'm calling you Josiah, you might as well call me Abigail. Something shifted in the room. Small, barely noticeable, but real. Abigail. He said it carefully. What Virgil did, that ain't how men treat women. Not real men. What he threatened. Josiah's voice turned hard. I buried my wife. I held her while she died. I would have given everything I owned, everything I was to save her. A man who preys on widows, who threatens children. He stopped. Drew a breath. That ain't a man. That's a monster. Abigail's eyes glistened. I didn't have a choice. she whispered. He said if I didn't marry him, he'd throw us out. I tried to find work. Tried to find someone else who'd take us in. Nobody would. A widow with 5 children. She laughed bitterly. I might as well be a leper. So you ran. What else could I do? Let him? She couldn't finish. You did right, Josiah said firmly. You protected your children. That took courage. It took desperation. Sometimes they're the same thing. Nellie stirred in Charlotte's arms, whimpering softly. Abigail reached for her, but she was too weak to lift herself. Let me. Josiah crossed the room gently, taking the baby from Charlotte's sleeping arms. Nellie's eyes opened, looked up at him. She didn't cry. She just stared, tiny fingers curling around his thumb. Something cracked inside Josiah's chest. Something he'd kept locked away for 5 years. She's beautiful, he said hoarsely. She looks like her father. Abigail's voice was soft. He had those eyes, blue as summer sky. Josiah carried Nellie to her mother, laying her gently in Abigail's arms. Get some sleep, he said. Both of you. I'll keep watch. All night. All night. All week. As long as it takes. Abigail looked at him. Really looked at him for the first time. Why? She asked again. And this time Josiah answered honestly. Because I spent 5 years thinking I had nothing left to protect. Thinking my life ended when Sarah and Thomas died. Thinking I was just waiting for what I don't know. Maybe for death to finally come calling. He paused. Then I found you in that snow. You and your children. Freezing, dying, and something in me woke up. What? Purpose. He said the word like it was sacred. I don't know what happens tomorrow, Abigail. Don't know what happens when the storm clears or when Virgil comes sniffing around. But I know this, I won't let you face it alone. Not you, not those children. Tears slipped down Abigail's cheeks. You barely know me. I know you walked 20 miles through a blizzard with 5 children rather than surrender to a man who didn't deserve you. I know you stayed awake while your body was shutting down, making sure your babies kept moving. I know you've been carrying this family on your shoulders since your husband died, and not one person has offered to help. He met her eyes. I know enough. Abigail was silent for a long time. Then finally she spoke. I'm scared. Of what? Of trusting someone. Of believing this is real. Every time I let myself hope something terrible happens. Maybe this time it won't. You don't know that. No. But I know that right now in this moment you're safe. Your children are fed and warm and sleeping. And tomorrow when the sun comes up, we'll figure out the next step together. Abigail closed her eyes. When she opened them again, something had changed. Not trust, not yet, but maybe the beginning of it. Good night, Josiah. Good night, Abigail. She curled around Nellie, her body finally relaxing into sleep. Josiah sat by the window watching the storm rage outside. For 5 years this cabin had been his prison, a place to hide from memories, from grief, from life itself. Tonight, it had become something else. A shelter, a haven, a home. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring. Didn't know if Virgil Coombs would come with sheriffs and warrants. Didn't know if Abigail would stay or disappear into the morning light. But for the first time in 5 years, Josiah Callahan had something to fight for. And God help anyone who tried to take it away. The storm died sometime before dawn. Josiah hadn't slept. His eyes burned from watching the window all night, waiting for shadows that never came. Now pale light crept across the frozen plains, turning the snow into a sea of white. Abigail stirred first. The children, she whispered, still sleeping, all of them. She pushed herself up slowly, wincing. How long was I out? Few hours. You needed it. Abigail looked around the cabin, taking in the sleeping forms of her children. Samuel sprawled near the hearth. Charlotte curled around Nellie. The twins tangled together under a pile of blankets. "They look peaceful," she said softly. "First real sleep they've had in a while, I reckon." Abigail's jaw tightened. "Virgil kept us in the cellar. Said it was all we deserved." Josiah's hand gripped the rifle stock. The cellar. Dark, cold, damp. Her voice went flat. "Charlotte got sick the first week. I begged him for medicine. He said I knew what I had to do if I wanted his help." "What did you do?" "I stole the medicine from his store. He caught me." She held up her left hand. A scar ran across her palm. "That's when I knew we had to run." Josiah's blood ran cold. "He cut you. Said it was a lesson. Said next time it'd be worse." Samuel's voice came from behind them. "Mama." Abigail turned quickly, hiding her hand. "I'm here, sweetheart." The boy sat up, rubbing his eyes. "Is the storm over?" "Looks like it," Josiah said. "You hungry?" "Yes, sir." "Then let's get some food going." Josiah moved to the stove, grateful for something to do with his hands. The rage inside him needed an outlet before it consumed him whole. Charlotte woke next, then the twins. Nellie fussed until Abigail nursed her under a blanket. "Mr. Josiah." Henry tugged at his sleeve. "Can I help?" Something softened in Josiah's chest. "You know how to crack eggs." "Mama taught me." "Then you're hired." Henry beamed. For the next hour, the cabin filled with the sounds Josiah had forgotten existed. Children laughing, spoons scraping bowls, Biscuit begging for scraps. Thomas held up a piece of bacon. "Can the dog have some?" "Just a little. He's old. Too much makes his stomach hurt." "How old?" 12 years. Had him since he was a pup." "That's older than me." "That's older than all of you combined." Charlotte laughed. Actually laughed. Josiah looked at Abigail. She was watching her children with an expression he recognized. The expression of someone who'd forgotten what normal felt like. "Thank you," she mouthed silently. He nodded. After breakfast, Samuel helped Josiah clear the dishes while Charlotte bundled the younger children in blankets near the fire. "Sir," Samuel kept his voice low. "What's the plan?" "What do you mean?" "Virgil. He ain't gonna stop looking. You know that." Josiah set down the plate he was holding. "How much do you know about what your mama went through?" Samuel's young face hardened. "Enough. I heard things through the cellar door. Heard him yelling at her. Heard—" He stopped. "I should have done something." "You're 10 years old. Pa would have done something. Your pa's gone, son. That ain't your fault, and protecting your mama wasn't your job." "Then whose job was it?" Josiah held the boy's gaze. "Mine now." Samuel studied him for a long moment. "You mean that—" "I don't say things I don't mean." "Then what are we gonna do?" Josiah glanced at Abigail, who was helping Nellie take wobbly steps across the floor. "First, I need to go to town, get supplies, see what folks are saying about your family." "I'll come with you." "No, you stay here. Protect your mother and siblings." Samuel's chest puffed slightly. "You trust me with that?" "I do. Can I—" "Yes, sir." Josiah clapped him on the shoulder. "Good man." He walked to where Abigail sat Nellie, now asleep in her lap. "I need to ride into Clearwater." Fear flashed across her face. "Josiah?" "Just to look around. See what Virgil's up to. Pick up some things. If he sees you asking questions, he won't know they're about you." Abigail grabbed his wrist. Her grip was surprisingly strong. "Please, be careful." "I survived the war, Abigail. I can survive one greedy shopkeeper." "Virgil's more than greedy. He's cruel and patient. He'll wait until you're not expecting it. Then I won't stop expecting it." He grabbed his coat and hat from the hook by the door. Charlotte looked up. "You're leaving?" "Just for a few hours. I'll be back before dark." "Promise?" The question hit him like a fist. When was the last time anyone had wanted him to come back? Promise. The ride to Clearwater took 2 hours through fresh powder. Josiah kept his eyes moving, watching for tracks for signs of anyone else traveling the same route. Nothing. The town emerged from the white like a photograph coming into focus. Maybe 30 buildings clustered around a main street, a church at one end, a saloon at the other, and right in the middle, a sign that read, Coombs Mercantile. Josiah tied his horse outside the saloon first. Better to listen before asking. Inside, a handful of men hunched over drinks despite the early hour. The bartender looked up. Help you? Whiskey and some information. First one's easy. Second depends on what you're asking. Josiah laid a coin on the bar. Heard there was some trouble with the Pruitt widow. She around? The bartender's expression changed. Guarded now. Why do you want to know? Owed her husband money. Wanted to pay my respects. Jacob Pruitt died 3 months back. I've been away. A man at the end of the bar spoke up. You a friend of the Pruitts? Josiah turned slowly. The man was younger than him, lean and weathered with honest eyes. Knew Jacob from before. We worked the same cattle drive back in '76. The lie came easy, too easy. The young man stood extending his hand. Name's Ezekiel Thompson. Folks call me Zeke. I was Jacob's neighbor before he passed. Josiah Callahan. Callahan. Zeke's brow furrowed. You got a ranch north of here, near Miller's Creek? That's right. Heard of you. Keep to yourself mostly. I like quiet. Zeke lowered his voice. If you're looking for the widow, she's gone. Ran off 3 nights ago with all 5 young'uns. Ran off from where? Virgil Coombs' place. He took them in after Jacob died. Charitable act, he called it. Zeke's tone said exactly what he thought of that charity. And now she's missing. Virgil's telling everyone she stole from him, got the sheriff looking for her. Josiah's grip tightened on his glass. What did she supposedly steal? Money? Jewelry? Whatever Virgil decides to claim. Zeke leaned closer. Between you and me, that woman didn't steal nothing. She ran because Virgil was... He stopped, looked around. Well, you can guess. I can. Virgil's got this whole town scared. His cousin's the sheriff and his brother runs the bank. Cross one Coombs, you cross them all. Sounds like the Pruitts didn't have much choice. They didn't have any choice. Jacob borrowed money to buy medicine when the twins got sick. Never could pay it back. When he died, Virgil swooped in like a vulture. Told the widow it was marry him or lose everything. She refused. She tried to. Then he made life impossible. Locked her and the children in his cellar. Worked her like a slave. Wouldn't let the young'uns go to school. Zeke shook his head. Worst part, nobody did nothing. We all just watched. Why? Fear, cowardice, take your pick. Zeke met his eyes. I ain't proud of it. Josiah finished his whiskey. Where's Virgil now? His store. Where else man lives for that place? Zeke paused. You ain't thinking of doing something stupid, are you? Define stupid. Anything that gets you killed. Josiah laid another coin on the bar. Thanks for the information. He walked out before Zeke could say more. Coombs Mercantile stood at the center of town like a spider in its web. Josiah pushed through the doorbell, announcing his arrival. The man behind the counter looked up. Virgil Coombs was smaller than Josiah expected. Thin, balding, with a smile that never reached his eyes. The kind of man who compensated for his size with cruelty. Help you, stranger. Looking for supplies. Coffee, flour, ammunition. Got all that. Virgil came around the counter, eyes scanning Josiah like he was calculating his worth. Don't think I've seen you before. I keep to myself. Rancher. That's right. Where? North, Miller's Creek area. Virgil's eyes sharpened. That's remote territory. Storm must have hit you hard. It did. See anyone out there? Any travelers? Josiah met his gaze steadily. Just snow. Virgil's smile tightened. Reason I ask, I got a situation. Family that was staying with me ran off. Widow and 5 children. Stole from me too. That's so. I'm offering a reward. $50 for information on their whereabouts. $50 is a lot of money. They took a lot from me. Virgil moved closer. You see anything, you let me know? Ask for me at the sheriff's office. I'm practically family there. I'll keep that in mind. Josiah gathered his supplies, paid with exact change, and walked out without looking back. He felt Virgil's eyes on him the whole way to his horse. The ride back took longer. Josiah kept checking over his shoulder, making sure no one followed. The sun was setting by the time his cabin came into view. Samuel was waiting on the porch, rifle in hand. You're back. Told you I would be. Mama was worried. She shouldn't have been. Josiah dismounted, grabbing the supply bag. Anything happen while I was gone? Nothing, sir. Just waiting. Inside, Abigail rushed toward him. What did you find out? Josiah set down the supplies, looked at the children scattered around the room. Thomas and Henry playing with Biscuit. Charlotte mending a tear in her dress. Nellie asleep in a basket near the fire. Let's talk outside. They stood on the porch, breath fogging in the cold air. He's looking for you, Josiah said. Offering $50 reward, telling everyone you stole from him. Abigail closed her eyes. Of course he is. He's got the sheriff in his pocket. His cousin. I told you. But he doesn't know where you are, not yet. He'll figure it out. Virgil always figures things out. Josiah turned to face her fully. I met a man in town, Zeke Thompson. Says he was your husband's neighbor. Abigail's expression softened. Zeke, he's a good man. He feels guilty. Says everyone just watched what Virgil did to you. They did. Can't blame them, though. Virgil destroyed the last family that crossed him. Ran them out of town, took their land, made sure they couldn't start over anywhere in Montana. What happened to them? Heard the husband drank himself to death. The wife went back east with nothing. Abigail's voice dropped. That's what Virgil does. He doesn't just beat you. He breaks you. He won't break you. How can you be sure? Josiah reached out, took her cold hand in his. Because you're not alone anymore. Abigail stared at their joined hands. Then slowly her fingers curled around his. Josiah, I'm scared. Not just for me. For you. If Virgil finds out you're helping us, let him find out. He'll come for you too. Good. I'd rather he come to me than hunt you across the territory. That's not, you can't just throw your life away for strangers. You're not strangers, not anymore. Abigail's breath caught. We've known each other 2 days. Sometimes 2 days is enough. The cabin door creaked open. Charlotte poked her head out. Mama Nellie's awake. She's hungry. Abigail pulled her hand back, but Josiah saw the color in her cheeks. Coming, sweetheart. She went inside. Josiah stayed on the porch, watching the last light fade from the sky. Somewhere out there, Virgil Coombs was planning his next move. Josiah intended to be ready. 3 days passed. The children began to thaw, not just from the cold, but from the fear that had frozen them for months. Thomas and Henry started laughing again, chasing Biscuit through the snow. Charlotte helped Josiah with chores, proving herself handy with the livestock. Samuel stood guard duty with a seriousness that made Josiah's heart ache. And Abigail transformed. The gaunt, hollow-eyed woman from the blizzard was still there, but life was returning to her face. She took over the cooking, producing miracles from Josiah's meager supplies. She organized the cabin with a woman's touch, making the space feel warmer, fuller. At night after the children slept, they talked. Jacob would have liked you, she said one evening. You're alike in some ways. How so? Quiet, stubborn, good. Josiah stirred the fire. I ain't good. Yes, you are. You just don't see it. I've done things, Abigail. In the war. Things I ain't proud of. We've all done things we ain't proud of. Doesn't define us. What defines us then? Abigail considered the question. What we do when it matters. When nobody's watching. When there's nothing to gain. Like taking in a widow and 5 children during a blizzard. Like that. She smiled softly. Sarah was lucky to have you. I was lucky to have her. You still miss her? Every day. Abigail nodded slowly. That's how I feel about Jacob. People tell me it gets easier. That time heals. But I don't want to stop missing him. The missing means he mattered. He did. Anyone who raised those children, he mattered plenty. Abigail's eyes glistened. Thank you. For what? For seeing us. Not as burdens or charity cases. Just as people. Josiah reached over, squeezed her hand briefly. Get some rest. Tomorrow we start planning. Planning what? How to make sure Virgil Coombs never bothers your family again. On the 4th day, Zeke Thompson rode up to the cabin. Josiah had his rifle aimed before the man was halfway across the yard. Easy. Zeke held up both hands. It's me, from the saloon. I know who you are. Question is, why are you here? To warn you. Zeke dismounted slowly. Virgil knows. Josiah's blood went cold. Knows what? That you were asking about the Pruitts. That you bought supplies for more than one person. He put it together. Zeke glanced at the cabin. She's here, ain't she? The widow and her children? If she was, then you need to know Virgil's coming, tonight. He's got the sheriff and 2 deputies with him. Inside, Abigail appeared in the doorway. Her face went white. Zeke, Mrs. Pruitt. Zeke tipped his hat. Ma'am, I'm sorry I didn't do more before, but I'm here now. How many hours? Josiah cut in. 3, maybe 4. They're taking the long way, avoiding the drifts. That gives us time. Time for what? Abigail's voice shook. Time to run, Josiah. We've been running. There's nowhere left to go. Then we don't run. We fight 4 armed men. If we have to. Josiah turned to Zeke. You with us? Zeke hesitated. Then his jaw set. Jacob Pruitt was the closest thing I had to a friend. I should have spoken up months ago. Reckon it's time I made it right. Mama! Charlotte appeared behind Abigail. The younger children clustered behind her. What's happening? Abigail knelt, gathering her children close. Nothing, sweetheart. Go back inside. I heard. The bad man is coming. Samuel pushed forward. I can fight. No, Josiah said firmly. You stay with your mother and siblings. No matter what happens, you keep them safe. But, promise me, Samuel. The boy swallowed hard. I promise. Josiah looked at Abigail. Something passed between them. Words, unspoken fears, acknowledged trust solidified. Get the children upstairs. Bar the door. Don't come out until I say. Josiah. I won't let him take you, I swear it. Abigail reached up, touched his face briefly. Don't die, she whispered. Please. Then she gathered her children and disappeared into the cabin. Josiah turned to Zeke. You got a rifle? On my saddle. Get it. We got 3 hours to prepare. They worked fast. Josiah positioned hay bales for cover. He checked every rifle, every pistol, made sure each was loaded and within reach. Zeke set up a vantage point near the barn. As darkness fell, Josiah stood on the porch watching the horizon. You really think you can stop him? Zeke asked, joining him. I think I'm gonna try. He's got the law on his side. On paper, he's within his rights. Widow owes him money. Children belong with their mother. Mother belongs with whoever holds the debt. That ain't law, That's tyranny. Same thing out here. Josiah's grip tightened on his rifle. Then we change it. How? One stand at a time. An hour later, lantern lights appeared on the horizon. 4 riders, just like Zeke said. Josiah stepped into the center of the yard, rifle at his side. The lead rider emerged from the darkness. Virgil Coombs. Behind him, Sheriff Brennan and 2 deputies, hands resting on their holsters. Virgil pulled his horse to a stop, that oily smile spreading across his face. Well, well, the hermit of Miller's Creek. Didn't expect you to be such a fool. Evening, Virgil. You know why we're here. I know what you think you're gonna do. I also know it ain't gonna happen. The sheriff spoke up. Mr. Callahan, this ain't your concern. Mrs. Pruitt is a fugitive. She stole from Mr. Coombs and fled with his property. His property? The children. By law, they belong to whoever holds the family debt. That's Virgil. Children ain't property. The law says different. Josiah's jaw tightened. Then the law is wrong. Virgil laughed. I like you, Callahan. Got spine. But spine don't win against bullets. He gestured to his men. You're outnumbered, outgunned, and out of options. Hand over the widow and her brats, and we ride away peaceful. And if I don't, then we take them by force, and you die in the process. From the barn, Zeke stepped forward, rifle raised. Might not be that simple. Virgil's smile faltered. Thompson, you're in this too. Someone had to be. You're a dead man. Maybe. But I'll take a few of you with me. Silence stretched across the frozen yard. Then a small voice pierced the night. Mama, no. The cabin door burst open. Abigail stepped out, hands raised. Stop. All of you. Just stop. Josiah's heart seized. Abigail, get back inside. No. She walked forward, placing herself between Josiah and Virgil's men. This is about me. I won't let anyone else die for my mistakes. Virgil's grin returned. Smart woman. Always knew you'd see sense. I'll come with you. Willingly. But you leave the children here. Leave them with Mr. Callahan. No deal. I want what's mine. They're not yours. The law says they are. Your husband's debt makes them mine, just like it makes you mine. Virgil's voice turned ugly. You should have accepted that months ago. Would have saved us all this trouble. Abigail's chin lifted. I would rather die than belong to you. That can be arranged. Josiah stepped forward. Touch her, and it'll be the last thing you do. Virgil's patience snapped. Enough, Sheriff. Arrest the widow. Shoot anyone who interferes. The sheriff hesitated. Virgil. Do it. Brennan reached for his gun. Josiah raised his rifle, and in that frozen moment, hoofbeats thundered from the east. Everyone turned. A dozen riders emerged from the darkness, their silhouettes growing larger with each passing second. At their head, a woman with silver hair and a rifle aimed squarely at Virgil's chest. That's far enough, Virgil Coombs. Virgil's face twisted. Martha Sullivan. What the hell do you think you're doing? Martha pulled her horse to a stop, the other riders flanking her on both sides. What I should have done months ago. What we all should have done. She looked at the men beside her, shopkeepers, farmers, ranchers, the working people of Clearwater. We let you terrorize this town long enough. It ends tonight. This is none of your business. Abigail Pruitt is my business. Those children are my business. This whole town's business. Martha's voice rang out clear and cold. You've been a blight on Clearwater for 10 years. Cheating folks, stealing land, forcing women. She stopped, composed herself. No more. The sheriff looked between Virgil and the crowd. His deputies did the same. Sheriff? One of the riders spoke up, a man Josiah didn't recognize. My wife told me what Virgil did to the widow Pruitt, how he kept her and those children in a cellar, how he cut her when she tried to get medicine for her sick baby. Murmurs rippled through the assembled crowd. That true, Virgil? The sheriff asked slowly. She's a liar. They're all liars. Show him your hand, Abigail. Martha's voice was gentle. Show them what he did. Abigail hesitated. Then she raised her left hand, the scar visible even in the dim light. She cut herself, Virgil sputtered. Tried to make me look. I saw the blood. Charlotte stepped forward, eyes blazing. I saw you hit my mama. I saw you lock us in that cellar. I saw everything. More murmurs. The deputies exchanged uneasy glances. She's a child, Virgil snapped. Children lie. I ain't lying. Charlotte's voice didn't waver. You told Mama she'd never escape, that nobody would believe her over you, that you owned this town. She pointed at the crowd. But you don't own them, not anymore. Virgil's face contorted with rage. He lunged for Charlotte. Josiah moved faster. His fist connected with Virgil's jaw, sending the smaller man sprawling into the snow. Touch her, and I'll end you. Virgil scrambled backward, blood dripping from his lip. You'll hang for this, all of you. No, Sheriff Brennan said quietly. I don't reckon anyone'll hang tonight. Except maybe you. Virgil stared at his cousin. What? I turned a blind eye because you're family, because it was easier. But there's a line, Virgil, and you crossed it. The sheriff looked at Abigail. Ma'am, I apologize. For everything. Abigail was trembling. What happens now? Now. Brennan looked at the assembled crowd, at his deputies, at the faces of people who'd finally found their courage. Now we take Mr. Coombs back to town, lock him up, send for a judge from Helena. A real judge, Martha added, not one he's bought. And Mrs. Pruitt. Free to go wherever she pleases. Brennan paused. Including here if Mr. Callahan will have her. Every eye turned to Josiah. He looked at Abigail, at Charlotte and Samuel, at the twins peeking from the cabin doorway, at baby Nellie in Charlotte's arms, at the family he'd found in the middle of a blizzard. She's welcome here, he said, long as she wants to stay. Abigail's tears finally fell. Forever, she whispered. If you'll have us. Forever it is. The crowd erupted in murmurs of approval. Virgil was dragged away, still spitting threats no one listened to. Martha rode up beside Josiah. You did good, Callahan. Couldn't have done it without you. We should have stood up sooner. All of us. She looked at Abigail, then back at Josiah. Take care of them. I intend to. Martha nodded once, then turned her horse and led the crowd back toward town. Silence fell over the ranch. Josiah stood in the snow, watching the lantern lights disappear into the darkness. Behind him, small footsteps approached. Mr. Josiah? He turned. Henry looked up at him, eyes wide. Yes, son. Is the bad man gone? Josiah knelt to the boy's level. He's gone. Forever. Forever. Henry threw his small arms around Josiah's neck. Thank you, he whispered. Thank you for saving us. Josiah held him close, something breaking open in his chest. Something he'd kept locked away for 5 years. You're welcome, he said, voice rough. You're welcome. Abigail appeared beside them, the other children gathering close. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Then Thomas piped up. Does this mean we get to stay here with the dog? Despite everything, Josiah laughed. Yeah, son, you get to stay, with the dog. Thomas cheered. Henry joined in. Even Charlotte cracked a smile. Abigail reached out, took Josiah's hand. Thank you, she said. For everything. Don't thank me yet. Ranch life ain't easy. Neither is what we've been through. She squeezed his hand. I think we can handle anything now. Josiah looked at her, really looked, and saw not a broken widow, but a survivor. A mother who'd walked through hell to protect her children. A woman stronger than she knew. I believe you can, he said. Above them, the clouds parted. Stars emerged cold and bright, spreading across the Montana sky, like scattered diamonds. And in the little cabin by Miller's Creek, a family began to form. Not from blood, but from something stronger. Choice. 2 weeks passed. The cabin felt different now. Fuller, louder, alive. Josiah woke before dawn, same as always. But instead of silence greeting him, he heard Charlotte in the kitchen already heating water. Samuel was outside feeding the horses. The twins were arguing about something in their corner. "It's my turn to hold Nellie." "No, it's mine, you held her yesterday." "Boys?" Abigail's voice cut through, firm but gentle. "Neither of you can hold her if you're fighting." Josiah smiled to himself. He'd forgotten what mornings sounded like with a family. Charlotte saw him first. "Coffee's almost ready, Mr. Josiah." "You don't have to call me Mr. What should I call you then?" The question hung in the air. Josiah felt Abigail's eyes on him from across the room. "Josiah's fine," he said finally. "Just Josiah." Charlotte nodded, something softening in her expression. "All right, Josiah." After breakfast, Samuel helped Josiah check on the cattle. The boy had proven himself capable these past weeks, learning quickly, asking smart questions. "Josiah." "Yeah." "You think Virgil's really going to stay locked up?" "The judge from Helena arrives next week. Martha says he's honest, can't be bought." "But what if—" "Don't borrow trouble, son. Deal with what's in front of you." Samuel kicked at the snow. "Pa used to say that." "Smart man." "He was." Samuel paused. "You remind me of him sometimes." Josiah's chest tightened. "That's so—" "Yeah, the way you talk, the way you don't say much but mean every word." Samuel looked up. "Mama sees it too, I can tell." "How can you tell?" "She smiles more when you're around, real smiles, not the pretend ones she used to give us when things were bad." Josiah didn't know what to say. "Anyway." Samuel shrugged like it was nothing. "Just thought you should know." They worked in silence after that, but it was a comfortable silence, the kind that didn't need filling. That afternoon, Martha Sullivan rode up with news. "Judge Morrison's coming early, day after tomorrow." Abigail clutched her apron. "That's good, isn't it?" "It is. But there's something else." Martha glanced at Josiah. "Virgil's brother came in from Helena, named Cyrus Coombs. He's a lawyer." "Of course he is." "He's been asking questions. About you, Josiah. About your past." "What kind of questions?" "War record. Where you came from before Montana. Why you live alone." Martha's expression was troubled. "He's digging for something." Abigail stepped closer. "What could he possibly find?" Josiah's jaw tightened. "Nothing worth finding." "Josiah." Martha's voice softened. "Is there anything we should know? Anything Cyrus could use against you?" Silence stretched. The children were inside, their laughter filtering through the cabin walls. Innocent. Unaware. "I did things in the war," Josiah said finally. "Things that haunt me." "What things?" "I was at Lawrence. August 1863. Martha's face went pale. "The Quantrill raid." "I wasn't with Quantrill. I was defending the town. But afterward—" Josiah stopped. Drew a breath. "There were prisoners. Confederate sympathizers. Some folks wanted them hung without trial. I stopped them." "That's honorable." "Not everyone saw it that way. I was called a traitor. A Confederate lover. My own unit nearly shot me." Josiah's voice dropped. "That's why I left Kansas after the war. Too many memories. Too many enemies." Abigail touched his arm. "You did the right thing." "Did I?" "Sometimes I wonder if I should have let them hang. Would have saved me years of running." "No." Her voice was fierce. "Killing prisoners isn't justice. It's murder. You knew that, even when everyone around you had gone mad with revenge." Josiah met her eyes. "You really believe that?" I believe in you. Martha cleared her throat. Whatever happened in Kansas, it's not a crime. Cyrus can't use it against you. He'll try. He'll twist it. Make me look like a Southern spy or something. Then we tell the truth first. Get ahead of him. How? Judge Morrison's a fair man. I'll speak to him before the trial. Make sure he knows your character. Josiah shook his head. I don't want you risking yourself for me. Too late for that. Martha smiled grimly. We're all in this together now. The next day brought more trouble. Zeke rode in at noon, his horse lathered. There's talk in town. Bad talk. What kind? Cyrus has been buying drinks at the saloon, telling stories about the widow and the rancher, saying Abigail seduced you, that she planned this whole thing to trap a lonely man with money. Abigail's face flushed. That's a lie. I know it is, but folks are listening. You know how it is. Half the town stood up for you, but the other half stayed home. They're the ones believing Cyrus now. Josiah's fists clenched. Let them believe. It's not that simple. If the jury thinks Abigail's some kind of schemer, they might let Virgil go. There's going to be a jury. Judge Morrison wants a proper trial, 12 men from the territory. Zeke's expression darkened. Cyrus is already working on who gets picked. Charlotte appeared in the doorway. Mama, what's wrong? Nothing, sweetheart. Go back inside. I'm not a child. I can hear you talking. Charlotte's chin lifted. What's that man saying about Mama? Abigail knelt before her daughter. Mr. Coombs' brother is telling lies, trying to protect his brother. Then I'll tell the truth. I'll tell everyone what really happened. Charlotte? No, Mama. You always protect us. Let us protect you for once. Josiah watched the exchange. This 13-year-old girl had more courage than half the grown men in Clearwater. She's right, he said quietly. Abigail looked up. What? Let her testify. Let all the children testify. Nobody can look at them and think this was some scheme. They're children. I won't put them through that. Mama. Samuel stepped forward from wherever he'd been listening. We want to do this. We saw what Virgil did. We lived it. If we don't speak up, he might go free and come after us again. Abigail's eyes filled with tears. You shouldn't have to, but we do. Samuel stood straight, looking older than his 10 years. Pa told me once that doing right isn't always easy. Sometimes it costs something. This is our cost, and we're willing to pay it. The cabin fell silent. Then Abigail gathered her children close, all 5 of them, even little Nellie, who didn't understand but clung to her mother anyway. I don't deserve you, she whispered. Any of you. Yes, you do, Charlotte said. You're our mama. That evening, Josiah sat on the porch alone. Abigail found him there, wrapped in a shawl against the cold. Can't sleep. Thinking. About what? Everything. Nothing. He shifted to make room for her. Your children are something special. They're survivors. Like you. I ain't special. Stop saying that. Abigail sat beside him close enough that their shoulders touched. You keep acting like you don't matter, like you're just some hermit who happened to find us in the snow. That's what I am. No, that's what you were. She turned to face him. Josiah, in 2 weeks, you've given my children more security than they've had since Jacob died. You've protected us, fed us, treated us like family. You are family. The words hung between them. Abigail's breath caught. What? Josiah stared at his hands. I don't know how else to say it. You come into my life, this broken, empty life, and suddenly it's full again. I wake up looking forward to something. I go to sleep knowing someone needs me. Josiah. I know it's only been 2 weeks. I know there's a trial coming and everything's uncertain. But I need you to know whatever happens, I'm not walking away. You and those children, you're mine now. Not like Virgil meant. Not ownership. Just... He struggled for words. Belonging. You belong here. With me. Tears slipped down Abigail's cheeks. I'm scared, she whispered. Of what? Of wanting this. Of letting myself believe it could be real. She wiped her eyes. Every time I've trusted something good, it gets taken away. Jacob. Our home. Our dignity. I won't get taken away. You don't know that. I know I'm stubborn enough to fight for what I love. He paused, realizing what he'd said. I mean, did you say love? Josiah's heart pounded. I don't know. Is it too soon? Abigail laughed softly, a broken, beautiful sound. We're sitting on a porch in Montana, after surviving a blizzard, a kidnapping, and a standoff with armed men. I don't think there's a rule book for this. So, is it too soon? She considered. Ask me again after the trial. That's not an answer. It's the best I can give right now. She leaned her head against his shoulder. But if you're asking whether I feel something, yes. I do. More than I expected. More than I thought I could. Josiah let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. That's enough for now. They sat together in silence, watching stars emerge one by one. Trial day arrived with gray skies and a bitter wind. The whole family rode into Clearwater together, Josiah driving the wagon, Abigail beside him, the children bundled in the back. The courthouse was packed. Martha met them at the door. Ready? No, Abigail admitted. But we're here. That's all that matters. Inside, Josiah spotted familiar faces. Zeke Thompson, the farmers and shopkeepers who'd stood with them that night. But he also saw others, tight-lipped, arms crossed, looking at Abigail like she was something dirty. Cyrus Coombs sat at the front, oily smile in place, and beside him in chains sat Virgil. The man looked smaller somehow, paler. But when his eyes found Abigail, they burned with hatred. Charlotte grabbed Josiah's hand. Don't look at him, Josiah whispered. He can't hurt you anymore. Judge Morrison entered, a stern man with silver hair and sharp eyes. The room fell silent. This court will come to order. Morrison's voice carried authority. We're here to determine whether Virgil Coombs should stand trial for crimes including assault, false imprisonment, and extortion. Mrs. Pruitt, you'll testify first. Abigail stood. Her hands shook, but her voice was steady. Your Honor, I'll tell you everything. From the beginning. And she did. She told them about Jacob's death, about the debt, about Virgil's offers that weren't really offers, but threats wrapped in polite words. She told them about the cellar, the darkness, the cold, the way Virgil withheld food when she refused him. She told them about the night he cut her hand. He said it was a lesson, she said, voice breaking. He said he'd cut deeper next time, that he'd start on my children if I didn't. She couldn't finish. The courtroom was silent. Cyrus stood smoothing his jacket. Your Honor, my client has a different recollection of events. I'm sure he does, Morrison said dryly. Sit down. I'll hear from the children next. Charlotte testified first. She spoke clearly, looking straight at the judge, never once glancing at Virgil. He hit Mama when she said no. He locked us in the cellar with rats and no light. He told us we were worthless, that no one would ever want us. Her voice hardened. But he was wrong. Mr. Josiah wanted us. Mr. Josiah saved us. Samuel went next. Then the twins, who couldn't say much, but cried when asked about the dark place. By the time they finished, half the courtroom was in tears. Cyrus tried to object, tried to claim the children had been coached, tried to suggest Josiah had orchestrated everything for his own gain. Judge Morrison cut him off. Mr. Coombs, I've heard enough of your theories. What I haven't heard is any evidence contradicting these testimonies. He turned to Virgil. Do you have anything to say for yourself? Virgil stood slowly, chains rattling. "She owes me," he spat. "Jacob Pruitt owed me $300. I took his family as collateral. That's legal. That's right." "What's legal and what's right aren't always the same thing," Morrison replied. "And last I checked, cutting a woman's hand open isn't covered under debt law." She was defiant. Someone had to teach her. Teach her what? That you could do whatever you wanted, because you held her debt. Morrison's voice turned cold. "Mr. Coombs, I've presided over murder trials with defendants less loathsome than you." Virgil lunged forward, chains snapping taut. "You can't talk to me like that. I own half this town." "You own nothing anymore." Morrison banged his gavel. "Virgil Coombs, I find sufficient evidence to proceed with a full trial. However, given the testimony today and the clear danger you pose, I'm denying bail and recommending you be transferred to Helena for the duration." "You can't do this." "I just did." Morrison looked at the sheriff. "Get him out of my courtroom." As Virgil was dragged away, he twisted to look at Abigail. "This isn't over," he screamed. "You hear me? This isn't—" The door slammed shut behind him. Silence. Then slowly applause started. Scattered at first, then building. Martha Sullivan, Zeke Thompson, the farmers and shopkeepers, even some who'd looked doubtful earlier. Charlotte buried her face in Abigail's chest. "Is it over, Mama? Is it really over?" Abigail stroked her hair, tears streaming freely. "Not yet, sweetheart, but soon, very soon." Outside the courthouse, the crowd gathered around them. Congratulations, handshakes, apologies from those who hadn't helped before. Josiah stood apart, watching Abigail accept their words with grace. Martha approached him. "Hell of a day." "It ain't over yet. Full trial's still coming." But the tides turned. Everyone saw what kind of man Virgil really is. She smiled. "You did good, Callahan. Standing by them. Wasn't hard. That's what makes it good." She walked away, leaving Josiah alone with his thoughts. Then a small hand slipped into his. Nellie. Charlotte must have set her down. The baby toddled beside him, gripping his finger, looking up with those blue eyes that reminded him so much of his own lost son. "Duh," she said. Josiah's heart stopped. "She's been saying that all week," Charlotte said, appearing beside him. "Mama thinks she's confused." "What do you think?" Charlotte considered. "I think babies know more than we give them credit for." Josiah looked at Nellie, at her trusting face, at the tiny fingers wrapped around his. "Maybe they do," he said quietly. "Maybe they do." The ride home was quiet. The children slept in the wagon, exhausted from the emotional day. Abigail sat beside Josiah, her hand resting on his arm. "Thank you," she said. "For what? For being there. For not leaving when things got hard." "Told you I wouldn't." "I know, but hearing it and seeing it are different things." They rode in silence for a while. "Nellie called you, duh," Abigail said finally. Charlotte mentioned. "Does that bother you?" Josiah thought about it. Thought about Thomas, his Thomas, who never got to grow up, who never got to call him Pa in that trusting certain way children do. "No," he said, "it doesn't bother me." "Are you sure? Because she's young enough, she might keep—" "Abigail." He turned to look at her. "I'm sure." She studied his face. Whatever she saw there made her smile. Good. When they reached the cabin, Josiah helped carry the sleeping children inside. One by one, he tucked them into bed. Charlotte, Samuel. The twins tangled together. Nellie in her basket by the fire. Abigail watched from the doorway. "You're good at that." "Practice. Had a son once, remember?" "I remember." She crossed to him. "Does it hurt, taking care of mine?" "It did at first. Now it just feels—" He searched for the word. Right. Like this is what I was supposed to be doing all along. Abigail reached up, touched his face. Josiah Callahan. Yes. When the trial is over. When this is all truly finished. She took a breath. Ask me again. Ask you what? She smiled. You know what? And he did. Later that night, long after the cabin fell silent, Josiah sat by the window. He looked at the stars, at the endless Montana sky, at the life he'd somehow stumbled into when he'd given up on ever having one. 5 years of nothing, then a blizzard, a widow, 5 children, and now something that felt dangerously like hope. He glanced at Abigail's sleeping form across the room. I'll wait, he whispered, long as it takes. Outside the wind picked up, but this time it didn't sound cold. It sounded like promise. 3 weeks until the full trial. Josiah counted each day like a man counting heartbeats. Every morning brought new rumors from town. Every evening brought new worries to Abigail's eyes. But the children thrived. Thomas and Henry had claimed Biscuit as their personal guardian. The old dog followed them everywhere, tail wagging, arthritic legs forgotten. Charlotte had taken over the kitchen with a competence that surprised everyone. Samuel worked beside Josiah like a shadow, learning the ranch, asking questions, growing into something that looked almost like a son. And Nellie kept calling Josiah Da. He'd stopped correcting her. You're spoiling her, Abigail said one morning, watching Josiah bounce the baby on his knee. Probably. She's going to expect that every morning now. Good. Abigail shook her head, but she was smiling. Real smiles came easier these days. The hunted look had faded from her eyes. Color had returned to her cheeks. She was beautiful, Josiah realized. Not in the fragile way he'd first noticed, but in a stronger way. A survivor's beauty. Stop staring, she said without looking up. Can't help it. Josiah Callahan, are you flirting with me? Might be. Charlotte groaned from across the room. Can you two not? Some of us are trying to eat. Mind your business, young lady, Abigail said, but she was blushing. Samuel caught Josiah's eye and grinned. Something had shifted in the cabin. Something unspoken but understood by everyone. They weren't just refugees anymore. They were becoming a family. The trouble started on a Thursday. Zeke rode in hard, his horse foaming. Virgil escaped. The words hit like a bullet. Abigail went white. What? Last night. Someone helped him. Guard was found unconscious, cell door open. Zeke was breathing hard. They're tracking him, but the trail went cold at Miller's Fork. Josiah grabbed his rifle. How long ago? 12 hours, maybe more. That means he could be anywhere. That's what I'm afraid of. Charlotte pulled her siblings close. Samuel reached for the hunting knife Josiah had given him. What do we do? Abigail's voice was steady, but Josiah saw her hands trembling. We stay calm. We stay together. And we don't let him win. He's out there, hunting us. Let him hunt. This time, we're ready. Josiah turned to Zeke. Who helped him escape? Nobody knows. But Cyrus disappeared from town the same night. His brother. That's my guess. Josiah's mind raced. Virgil alone was dangerous. Virgil, with his lawyer brother backing him, was worse. They'll try to discredit us before the trial. Make it look like Abigail fabricated everything. Or, Zeke said quietly, they'll make sure there's no trial at all. Abigail clutched Josiah's arm. You think they'd? I think Virgil's got nothing to lose now. He's looking at years in prison. Maybe hanging if the judge decides the assault was severe enough. Josiah met her eyes. A man with nothing to lose is the most dangerous kind. So what do? We prepare. Samuel helped me board the windows. Charlotte gather food and water. Enough for a week. A week. If they try to siege us, I want options. The children moved without question. Even Thomas and Henry helped carrying smaller supplies while Biscuit supervised. By nightfall, the cabin was fortified. Josiah had positioned himself at the window rifle ready. Samuel kept watch at the back. Charlotte had the younger children huddled near the fire, telling them stories to keep them calm. Abigail sat beside Josiah. "You should sleep." "Can't." "Abigail." "Don't." Her voice cracked. "Don't tell me it's going to be fine. Don't tell me we're safe. I've heard those words before, and they've always been lies." Josiah was quiet for a moment. "You're right," he said. "I can't promise we're safe. I can't promise nothing bad will happen. But I can promise you this: I will fight for you, for those children, until my last breath. That's what scares me." "Why?" "Because I can't lose someone else." Tears slipped down her face. "I can't watch another person I love die for me." Josiah's heart stopped. "Love?" Abigail froze, realizing what she'd said. I didn't mean—" "Yes, you did." She looked at him, then really looked, all her walls crumbling. "Yes," she whispered. "I did." Josiah reached out, cupped her face in his calloused hands. "I love you too," he said. "Been loving you since the moment you opened your eyes in my cabin, and your first thought was for your children. Josiah, we're going to survive this, all of us. And when it's over, I'm going to ask you something. Something I've been waiting to ask. You already know my answer. I want to hear you say it, properly, when we're not scared and exhausted." Abigail laughed through her tears. "You're a stubborn man. You're just figuring that out." She kissed him then, soft, brief, a promise more than a passion. When they pulled apart, Charlotte was watching from across the room. She said nothing, but she was smiling. The first attack came at midnight. A crash from the barn, horses screaming. Josiah was out the door before Abigail could stop him. "Stay inside, bar the door." He ran through the snow, rifle up. The barn doors were open, swinging in the wind. Inside, his two horses were spooked, kicking at their stalls. No sign of anyone. Then he saw it. A message carved into the barn wall. "Give her back or burn." Josiah's blood went cold. He searched every corner, every shadow. Nothing. When he returned to the cabin, Abigail read his face immediately. "What did you find?" he told her. "He's trying to scare us," she said. "It's working." "We can't give in." "I know." Josiah paced the floor. "But he's smart. He won't attack head-on. He'll wear us down, make us paranoid, make us make mistakes. Then we don't make mistakes." Samuel spoke up from his post. "What if we went to town, stayed there until the trial?" "Too dangerous on the road. If he ambushes us in the open?" "Then we're trapped here. For now. But I've got friends in town. Martha, Zeke. They'll come if we need them." "How will they know we need them?" Josiah thought. "Signal fire, on the hill behind the barn. If things get bad, we light it. And hope someone sees it. It's better than nothing." The second attack came at dawn. Smoke from the woodpile. Someone had tried to set it on fire, but the snow had dampened the flames. The message this time was painted in something red. "Last warning." Charlotte found it first. Her scream brought everyone running. "Mama!" She threw herself into Abigail's arms. "He was here. He was right here while we slept." Abigail held her daughter's eyes meeting Josiah's over her head. "We can't stay here," she said. "We can't leave either." "Then what?" Josiah made a decision. "Samuel, take the fastest horse, ride to town, find Zeke and Martha, tell them we need help." "But you said—" "I know what I said. I was wrong. We can't do this alone." Samuel nodded, already pulling on his coat. "Be careful," Abigail said, grabbing his arm. "Please." "I will, Mama." He was gone before the sun fully rose. The waiting was the worst part. Hours passed. Josiah kept watch while Abigail tried to maintain normalcy for the younger children. Charlotte read stories to the twins. Nellie napped blissfully unaware. "He should be there by now," Abigail said. "Give him time." "What if Virgil caught him?" "Samuel's smart. He knows the land." "He's 10 years old." "He's your son. That means he's tougher than he looks." Abigail didn't respond. She just kept staring at the window. By noon, riders appeared on the horizon. Josiah grabbed his rifle, heart pounding. Then he recognized the lead horse. "It's Martha." The relief nearly buckled his knees. Martha rode up with 6 others, Zeke the doctor, 4 farmers with rifles. Samuel was with them unharmed, beaming with pride. "Got your message," Martha said, dismounting. "Brought reinforcements." "You didn't have to." "Yes, we did." She looked at the painted warning on the barn. "Virgil's gone too far. The whole town's talking. Sheriff's organized a search party." "Any sign of him?" "Not yet, but we'll find him." Zeke approached. "There's more. Cyrus was spotted in Helena. He's trying to get the charges dropped, claiming you kidnapped Abigail and turned her against Virgil." "That's insane." "That's desperate. He knows his brother's finished if the trial goes forward." Abigail stepped onto the porch. "What can we do?" Martha turned to her. "Testify again. In Helena this time, before a federal judge." "Federal?" "The territorial courts have been compromised. Too many of Virgil's friends in positions of power. But if we take this to a federal level, he can't escape." "Exactly." Josiah looked at Abigail. "It means traveling, leaving the ranch." "I know. It's dangerous. Staying here is dangerous too." She squared her shoulders. "I'm done hiding. I'm done letting that man control my life." "Mama's right," Charlotte said from the doorway. "We should go." Samuel nodded. "Together." Even Thomas piped up. "I'm not scared. Mr. Josiah will protect us." Josiah felt something swell in his chest. Pride, love, the fierce determination to be worthy of their trust. "All right," he said. "We go to Helena. We end this." Martha smiled. "That's what I wanted to hear." They left at dawn the next morning. The journey to Helena would take 3 days. Martha organized the convoy, Josiah's wagon in the center, armed riders, flanking both sides. The children treated it like an adventure. Thomas and Henry counted every tree they passed. Charlotte kept a journal documenting everything. Samuel rode alongside Josiah, finally trusted with a rifle of his own. Only Abigail remained tense. "He's out there," she said on the second night. "I can feel it. We've got 12 armed men watching us. It's not enough. Abigail, you don't know him like I do. He's patient. He waits. He finds the moment when you think you're safe, and then—" She stopped, shuddered. Josiah pulled her close. "He's not getting near you, not ever again." "Promise?" "I promise." The attack came on the 3rd morning. They were crossing a narrow pass when gunfire erupted from the rocks above. "Ambush!" Josiah threw himself over Abigail and the children as bullets tore through the wagon canvas. "Stay down!" The riders scattered, returning fire. Josiah grabbed his rifle, looking for targets. 3 men on the ridge, maybe more. "Is everyone okay?" "We're fine." Charlotte was shielding the twins with her body. Samuel had his rifle up, eyes scanning. "Don't shoot unless you have a clear target." "Yes, sir." The firefight lasted 10 minutes. When it was over, 2 of the attackers lay dead. The 3rd had fled. But Zeke was hit. "How bad?" Josiah rushed to his side. "Shoulder." Zeke grimaced. "I'll live." Martha was already applying pressure. "We need to move. There might be more." "Who were they?" Abigail asked, pale and shaking. One of the farmers turned over a body. "Don't recognize him." "Hired guns," Martha said grimly. "Virgil's spending his brother's money." "Then Cyrus is behind this." "Had to be. Virgil doesn't have resources for an ambush like this." Josiah looked at the narrow pass ahead, the open land beyond. We're sitting ducks out here. Helena's only 4 hours away. We push through. And if there's another ambush, we fight through that too. They moved faster after that. The children were silent now, the adventure forgotten. Even Nellie seemed to sense the danger clinging to Abigail without making a sound. Samuel rode closer to Josiah. That man I shot at, did you hit him? I don't know, maybe. Does that make me a killer? Josiah considered his words carefully. Protecting your family doesn't make you a killer. It makes you a man. Pa never wanted me to use a gun. Your pa isn't here, but if he was, I think he'd be proud of how you've handled yourself. Samuel was quiet for a long moment. You think so? I know so. Helena appeared in the valley below like a promise. The territorial capital was larger than Clearwater, hundreds of buildings, busy streets, the kind of civilization that felt foreign after weeks on the ranch. Martha led them to a boarding house run by a friend. You'll be safe here. Federal marshals patrol the streets. What about Virgil? If he's smart, he's already running. The whole territory's looking for him now. And Cyrus? Martha's expression darkened. That's where it gets complicated. Cyrus has connections, powerful friends. He might try to delay the hearing. How do we stop him? We don't, but Judge Harrison does. Martha smiled grimly. He hates the Coombs family. Something about a land deal gone wrong years ago. Cyrus picked the wrong judge to manipulate. The hearing was set for 2 days later. Those 2 days felt like an eternity. Josiah paced, Abigail worried. The children explored the town under Charlotte's watchful eye. On the eve of the hearing, a knock came at their door. Josiah opened it, hand on his pistol. A federal marshal stood there, badge gleaming. Mr. Callahan, that's me. You need to come with me. There's been a development. What kind of development? The marshal's face was grim. We found Virgil Coombs. Josiah's heart pounded. Where? The river about a mile east. He's dead. Shot twice in the back. Abigail appeared behind Josiah. Dead? Yes, ma'am. Bo. Who killed him? That's what we're trying to figure out. The marshal paused. His brother Cyrus is claiming you did it. That's a lie. We've been in this boarding house the whole... I know. I've got witnesses confirming your whereabouts. But Cyrus is making noise. He wants you arrested. Josiah felt the world tilt. What happens now? Judge Harrison has agreed to hear the evidence tomorrow. All of it. The original charges against Virgil and now Cyrus's accusations against you. The marshal met his eyes. I'd suggest getting a good night's sleep. Tomorrow's going to be long. He tipped his hat and left. Abigail clutched Josiah's arm. It's a trap. Cyrus killed his own brother to frame you. Maybe. What do you mean, maybe? I mean, Virgil had enemies. Could have been anyone. But Cyrus is using it against us. Yes. So what do we do? Josiah pulled her close. We tell the truth, we trust the judge, and we pray that's enough. Abigail buried her face in his chest. I'm so tired of fighting. I know, darling, so am I. He kissed the top of her head. But we're almost there. One more day. You keep saying that, because I keep meaning it. Charlotte appeared in the hallway, the younger children behind her. We heard, she said quietly. Is it true the bad man is dead? Josiah nodded. Are we in trouble? Some people think we are, but we're going to prove them wrong. Thomas stepped forward. I'm not scared. Me neither, Henry added. Samuel straightened his shoulders. We'll tell the truth. All of us. They'll believe us. Josiah looked at this family, this impossible, beautiful family that had stumbled into his life. Yes, he said. They will. That night, no one slept. Josiah sat by the window watching the street below. Abigail lay awake staring at the ceiling. Even Biscuit seemed restless, pacing between the beds. Near midnight, Abigail came to sit beside him. "You're thinking about Sarah." "How do you know?" "Because I'm thinking about Jacob, about all the things that brought us here." She took his hand. "Do you think they'd approve of us?" Josiah considered the question. "I think Sarah would have loved you. And those children. She always wanted a big family. Jacob was the same. He used to talk about having 10 kids. Abigail smiled sadly. "We only made it to 5 before." She couldn't finish. "They'd want us to be happy," Josiah said. "Both of them." "Is that what you are happy?" He turned to face her fully. "For the first time in 5 years, yes. I'm happy. Terrified, exhausted, and about to face a federal judge on murder accusations, but happy." Abigail laughed softly. "That's the strangest thing I've ever heard." "Strange times." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "Whatever happens tomorrow, don't." "Josiah, don't talk like that. We're going to walk into that courtroom, tell the truth, and walk out free. All of us." "You really believe that?" "I have to. It's the only thing keeping me sane." Dawn came too quickly. The courtroom was packed. Judge Harrison presided over a room full of strangers, federal marshals, lawyers, curious citizens who'd heard about the dramatic case. Cyrus Coombs sat at the prosecution table, impeccably dressed, face twisted with righteous anger. Josiah sat beside Abigail, the children behind them with Martha. "All rise for Judge Harrison." The judge entered older than Josiah expected, with keen eyes and a stern mouth. "This hearing will come to order." Harrison's voice cut through the murmurs. "We're here to examine 2 matters. First, the late Virgil Coombs's alleged crimes against Mrs. Abigail Pruitt and her family. Second, Mr. Cyrus Coombs's accusation that Mr. Josiah Callahan murdered his brother." Cyrus stood immediately. "Your Honor, I move that the first matter be dismissed. My brother is dead. He can't defend himself." "Your brother's death doesn't erase his actions, Mr. Coombs. Sit down." Cyrus sat jaw clenched. Harrison turned to Abigail. "Mrs. Pruitt, I've reviewed your testimony from the Clearwater hearing. Do you stand by those statements?" "I do, Your Honor." "And you, Mr. Callahan, did you have any involvement in Virgil Coombs's death?" Josiah stood. "No, sir. I've been with Mrs. Pruitt and her children continuously since they came into my care. Multiple witnesses can verify our whereabouts at all times." "I have those witness statements." Harrison shuffled papers. 12 individuals confirm Mr. Callahan's presence at the boarding house during the estimated time of Virgil Coombs' death. Cyrus interrupted. "Those witnesses are all friends of the defendant. They're lying to protect him." "Mr. Coombs, one more outburst and I'll hold you in contempt." Harrison's eyes were ice. "Now I've also reviewed evidence from the murder scene. The bullets recovered from your brother's body were .32 caliber. Mr. Callahan's weapon is a .44. Silence. "Furthermore," Harrison continued, "a witness has come forward placing you, Mr. Cyrus Coombs, near the river on the night in question." Cyrus went pale. "That's impossible." "Is it because that witness is prepared to testify under oath?" The courtroom doors opened. A man walked in, thin, nervous, wearing the clothes of a ranch hand. "Your Honor," the marshal stepped forward. "This is William Porter. He works at the stable where Mr. Cyrus Coombs kept his horse." Porter approached the stand, visibly trembling. "Tell the court what you saw," Harrison instructed. Porter swallowed hard. "I saw Mr. Cyrus leave the stable that night, around 10 o'clock. He had a pistol, a small one. He came back 2 hours later, and the pistol was gone." "You're lying." Cyrus jumped to his feet. "I ain't." Porter's voice strengthened. "I liked Mr. Virgil. He was mean, but he paid well. When I heard he was dead, I knew. I knew who done it." The courtroom erupted. Harrison banged his gavel. "Order! Order in this court!" As the noise subsided, Josiah watched Cyrus's face crumble. The smooth lawyer's mask fell away, revealing the desperate man beneath. "I had no choice," Cyrus whispered. "He was going to ruin everything, ruin our family's name. So you killed your own brother. He was a liability. Everything he did to that woman, those children, it was all going to come out. Our business, our reputation. That's enough." Harrison's voice was cold. "Federal marshals take Mr. Cyrus Coombs into custody." As Cyrus was dragged away, he twisted to look at Abigail. "This isn't over." But it was, and everyone in that courtroom knew it. Judge Harrison turned to Abigail and Josiah. "Mrs. Pruitt, Mr. Callahan, I apologize for what you've endured. The Coombs brothers' crimes against your family are now a matter of federal record. Any debts allegedly owed to Virgil Coombs are hereby nullified. You are free to go." Abigail broke down crying. Josiah held her, his own eyes burning. Behind them, the children cheered. Charlotte hugged Samuel. Thomas and Henry danced in circles. Even Nellie clapped her tiny hands. Martha appeared beside them, eyes glistening. "You did it." "We all did it," Josiah said. "Couldn't have done it alone." "That's what community means." She smiled. "Now take your family home." "Your family." Josiah looked at Abigail, at the 5 children clustered around them. His family, finally. The journey back to Miller's Creek felt different. Lighter somehow. The children sang songs Josiah hadn't heard in years. Old hymns, trail ballads, silly rhymes that made even stern-faced Samuel crack a smile. Abigail hummed along, her hand resting on Josiah's arm as he drove the wagon. "You're quiet," she said. "Thinking. About what? About what comes next?" Abigail was silent for a moment. "Does something have to come next? Can't we just be?" "We can. But there's something I need to do first." "What's that?" Josiah smiled. "You'll see." When the cabin came into view, Thomas was the first to shout. "We're home." Home. The word hit Josiah like a wave. This place he'd built with his own hands, this refuge from grief and memory, it had become something else entirely. Home. The children tumbled out of the wagon before it fully stopped. Charlotte raced Biscuit to the porch. The twins investigated every corner like they'd been gone for years instead of weeks. Samuel stood apart, taking it all in with older eyes. "Samuel," Josiah called. "Yes, sir. Help me with the horses." They walked to the barn together. "You did good in Helena," Josiah said. "Real good." "Just told the truth." That takes courage, especially in front of all those people. Samuel was quiet, working the harness with practiced hands. "Can I ask you something?" the boy finally said. "Anything." "Are you going to marry my mama?" Josiah's hands stilled. "Would that be all right with you?" Samuel considered the question seriously. "Pa's been gone almost a year now. Mama's been sad the whole time. But with you—" He shrugged. She laughs again. "We all do." "That doesn't answer my question." "Yes, sir. It would be all right with me." Samuel met his eyes. "More than all right." Josiah nodded slowly. "Good. Because I'm going to ask her tonight." "Tonight?" "No more waiting. We've done enough of that." A rare smile crossed Samuel's face. "Charlotte's going to lose her mind." "Probably. And the twins will want to know if they can call you Pa." Josiah's throat tightened. "What do you think?" "I think—" Samuel paused, choosing his words. "I think Pa would have wanted someone to take care of us, someone good, someone who'd fight for us." He extended his hand. "You're that someone." Josiah shook it, man to man. "Thank you, Samuel." "Thank you, sir, for everything." That evening after supper, after the children were settled by the fire, Josiah caught Abigail's eye. "Walk with me." She looked surprised but pleased. "The children. Charlotte can watch them, just for a little while." Charlotte, who had clearly been listening, nodded eagerly. "Go, Mama. We'll be fine." Abigail hesitated, then took Josiah's offered hand. They walked to the small rise behind the cabin where you could see the whole valley spread out below. The setting sun painted everything gold and rose. "It's beautiful here," Abigail said softly. "It is now." She looked at him. "Josiah, let me say this." He took both her hands in his. "I've been alone for 5 years. Told myself I didn't need anyone. Told myself the past was enough company. Then you showed up in my life, half-frozen, fierce as a wildcat with 5 children who needed a father and a heart that needed mending." "Josiah, I'm not finished." He smiled gently. "You asked me once what I wanted. I didn't have an answer then. I do now." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a simple gold band. Abigail gasped. "It was my mother's," Josiah said. "She gave it to Sarah on our wedding day. I've been carrying it ever since, waiting for something I didn't think would ever come." Tears were streaming down Abigail's face. "Abigail Pruitt, I love you. I love your strength, your courage, your stubbornness that matches my own. I love your children like they were born to me. I want to wake up every morning knowing you're beside me. I want to grow old watching those kids become the people they're meant to be." He dropped to one knee. "Will you marry me?" Abigail was crying so hard she couldn't speak. Josiah's heart hammered. "Is that a yes or—" She pulled him to his feet and kissed him. Not soft and brief like before. This kiss was a promise, a claiming, a beginning. When they finally pulled apart, both breathless Abigail laughed through her tears. "Yes," she said. "Yes, you stubborn, wonderful man. Yes." Josiah slipped the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. "How did you know my size?" "I didn't. Some things just fit." She laughed again, that beautiful sound he'd grown to love. "We should tell the children. They already know." "What?" "I asked Samuel's permission this afternoon." Abigail stared at him. "You asked my 10-year-old son for permission to marry me." "Seemed right. He's the man of your family. Was anyway." Fresh tears spilled over. "Josiah Callahan, you are the best man I've ever known. Don't tell Jacob that." "Jacob would agree." She wiped her eyes. "He'd like you. You're alike in all the ways that matter." They walked back to the cabin hand in hand. Charlotte saw them first. Her shriek could probably be heard in Helena. "You said yes. Mama said yes." The twins came running. "What happened?" "What happened?" "Mr. Josiah and Mama are getting married." Thomas's face scrunched. "What does that mean?" "It means he's going to be our PA dummy." "Don't call your brother a dummy," Abigail said automatically, but she was smiling too hard to sound stern. Henry tugged at Josiah's sleeve. "Does this mean we get to stay forever?" Josiah knelt to the boy's level. "Forever and ever." "Promise." "I promise." Henry threw his arms around Josiah's neck. Thomas joined a moment later. Then Charlotte and Samuel and Abigail holding Nellie. They stood there in a tangle of arms and tears and laughter, a family forged not from blood, but from choice, from love. The wedding happened 2 weeks later. Nothing fancy. The whole town turned out. Martha Sullivan organized everything. Zeke stood as Josiah's witness, and the minister from Clearwater performed the ceremony. Abigail wore a simple dress Martha had helped her sew. Charlotte wove wildflowers into her hair. The twins served as ring bearers, nearly dropping them twice. Samuel stood tall and proud beside Josiah. And Nellie, in Josiah's arms throughout the ceremony, kept trying to grab the minister's spectacles. "Do you, Josiah Callahan, take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife?" "I do." "And do you, Abigail Pruitt, take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband?" Abigail's voice was strong and clear. "I do." "Then by the power vested in me, I pronounce you man and wife. You may kiss the bride." Josiah did. The crowd cheered. Children squealed. Biscuit barked his approval. Martha was openly weeping. Zeke looked like he might join her. "Speech," someone shouted. Josiah held up his hand for quiet. "I'm not much for speeches," he said, "but I want to thank you all. A few months ago, I was alone on this ranch, convinced my life was over. Then this woman and her children stumbled into my world, and everything changed." He looked at Abigail. "I've been given a second chance. At family, at happiness, at life." His voice cracked. "I don't intend to waste it." Abigail squeezed his hand. "And I want to thank my new family." Josiah turned to the children. "Charlotte, who runs this household better than I ever could. Samuel, who's got more courage than men twice his age. Thomas and Henry, who remind me every day that joy exists. And Nellie." He bounced the baby in his arms. "Who gave me back a word I thought I'd never hear again." "Da," Nellie said on cue, and everyone laughed. "That's right, sweetheart. I'm your da now, all of yours." He looked at each child in turn. "If you'll have me." Charlotte spoke first. "We'll have you." Samuel nodded. "Definitely." "Does this mean we can call you Pa for real?" Thomas asked. "If you want to." "I want to," Henry said. Thomas considered. "What about Papa? That's what I called our other Pa." Josiah felt his heart crack open. "Whatever feels right to you." "Pa," Thomas decided. "Our other Pa was Papa. You can be Pa." Pa it is. The celebration went on for hours. There was food and dancing and more food. Stories were told, songs were sung, and somewhere around midnight, the children finally collapsed in a pile near the fire. Josiah found Abigail on the porch, looking up at the stars. "Mrs. Callahan," she smiled. "That's going to take some getting used to." "We've got time." She leaned against him. "I keep waiting to wake up, for this to be a dream." "It's real." "I know. That's the miracle." She turned to face him. 3 months ago, I was locked in a cellar praying for death. Now I have a home, a husband, a future for my children. Our children. Our children. She tested the words. "I like how that sounds." "So do I." They stood in comfortable silence, watching the stars wheel overhead. Josiah. Thank you." "For what?" "For finding us, for saving us, for loving us." "You saved me too, you know." "How?" "You reminded me why living matters. I'd forgotten." Abigail kissed his cheek. "Then we saved each other." "Reckon we did." From inside, Nellie's cry split the air. Abigail sighed. "Duty calls." "I'll get her." "You don't have to." "I want to." He found Nellie in her basket, face-red, tears streaming. The moment she saw him, her arms reached up. "Duh." Josiah scooped her up, settling her against his chest. "Hey, little one, what's all the fuss about?" Her crying slowed. She hiccuped, then buried her face in his shoulder. "Bad dream." A small nod. "Want to know a secret?" She looked up with wet eyes. "I used to have bad dreams too, every night. But you know what made them stop." She shook her head. "Your mama, and you, and your brothers and sister." He kissed her forehead. "Family makes the bad dreams go away." Nellie yawned hugely. "That's right. Go back to sleep. I've got you." He rocked her gently, humming a half-remembered lullaby Sarah used to sing. By the time Abigail came inside, Nellie was asleep and Josiah was crying. "Josiah, what's wrong?" "Nothing." He wiped his eyes. "Everything's right. For the first time in years, everything's right." She came to stand beside him, looking down at the sleeping baby. "You're going to be a wonderful father." "I'm going to try." "You already are." Spring came slowly to Montana. The snow melted in patches, revealing ground that was brown but promising. Josiah taught Samuel to plant crops. Charlotte learned to manage the dairy cow Martha gifted them as a wedding present. The twins discovered tadpoles in the creek and became obsessed with watching them grow. And Nellie took her first real steps straight into Josiah's arms. "Did you see that?" Abigail was laughing and crying at once. I saw. She walked. My baby walked. Our baby, Josiah corrected. Abigail's smile softened. Our baby. Nellie, unaware of her achievement's significance, simply demanded to be lifted higher. Da up. Josiah obliged, spinning her until she squealed with delight. Life found a rhythm. Mornings started with chores and breakfast together. Days were filled with work, real work, the kind that built something lasting. Evenings brought stories by the fire the children piled together, Abigail mending clothes while Josiah whittled. Some nights after the children were asleep, Josiah and Abigail sat on the porch and talked about everything. Their pasts, their hopes, their fears. Do you ever think about Sarah? Abigail asked one night. Every day. Does it hurt? Less than it used to, more like a scar than an open wound now. I feel the same about Jacob. She paused. Is it wrong that I can love you and still miss him? If it's wrong, we're both guilty. She smiled. Good, I don't want to be guilty alone. You'll never be alone again. I promise you that. Summer brought a letter from Helena. Cyrus Coombs had been convicted. 10 years in federal prison for his brother's murder. The Coombs business empire had collapsed, their assets seized to pay debts and damages. Martha delivered the news personally. It's over, she said. Really over this time. Abigail held the letter with trembling hands. I can't believe it. Believe it. That man will never hurt anyone again. Josiah watched his wife. His wife absorbed the news. The last shadow lifted from her face. What happens to the money? Samuel asked. Martha smiled. Funny you should ask. The court ruled that Mrs. Pruitt, Mrs. Callahan is owed compensation for damages. Quite a lot, actually. Abigail stared. What? Turns out the debt Virgil claimed you owed was fraudulent. He doctored the books. Your husband never borrowed that money. But all those months the seller, all illegal, all compensable. Martha handed over a second document. This is yours, free and clear. Abigail read it. Her face went pale. Josiah. What is it? She showed him the number. Josiah's eyebrows shot up. That's more money than I've ever seen in my life. What are we going to do with it? Abigail looked at the cabin, at the children playing in the yard, at the life they'd built from nothing. Make this place a real home, she said. Expand the ranch, build a proper school for the children. Maybe, she hesitated. Maybe what? Maybe help other families like ours, women and children who have nowhere to go. Josiah's heart swelled. I married a saint. You married a survivor. There's a difference. Not much of one. They used the money wisely. The cabin grew into a proper house, 2 stories with separate rooms for each child. A new barn went up, bigger than the old one. They bought more cattle, more horses, more land. But the best investment was the shelter. Abigail called it the Sarah House in honor of Josiah's first wife, a place where abandoned women and children could find safety, food, and hope. She would have loved this, Josiah said, watching the first family move in. I know. Abigail squeezed his hand. That's why I named it for her. Word spread. The lonely rancher and the rescued widow. The children who testified against evil. The community that finally stood up. People came from across the territory to see the place where it all happened. Josiah hated the attention. Abigail handled it with grace. They need hope, she told him. We can give them that. I'm not a hero. You are to me, to our children, to every family you've helped since. I just did what was right. That's what makes you a hero. Fall came again. 1 year since the blizzard. 1 year since Josiah found a frozen widow and 5 children in the snow. The family gathered for a celebration. Charlotte, taller now, almost 14, confident in ways that made Josiah proud. Samuel 11 going on 40, already talking about law school. Thomas and Henry inseparable as always. Their vocabulary finally differentiating thanks to Charlotte's patient teaching. Nellie walking and talking up a storm, calling everyone by name. And one more. "You're sure?" Josiah had asked when Abigail told him. "I'm sure. But at your age, I'm 34, not ancient." She'd laughed at his expression. "Josiah Callahan, are you unhappy about this?" "Unhappy. I'm terrified." "Good. So am I." Now, as the family gathered around the table, Abigail stood. "I have an announcement." The children fell silent. "Next spring, you're all going to have a new brother or sister." Chaos erupted. Charlotte screamed. Samuel's jaw dropped. The twins started arguing about which they wanted. Nellie clapped without understanding why. Josiah just sat there, tears streaming down his face. "Pa." Thomas looked worried. "Why are you crying?" "Because I'm happy, son. Happier than I've ever been." But crying means sad. Not always. Sometimes it means your heart is too full to hold everything in. Thomas considered this. "My heart is full too, but I don't want to cry." "Then don't. Just remember this feeling. The way everything is right now, the family, the love, the hope. Remember it." "Why?" "Because someday when things are hard, you'll need something to hold on to. This memory will be that something." Thomas nodded solemnly. "Okay, Pa, I'll remember." Josiah pulled the boy into a hug. Then Henry joined. Then Charlotte and Samuel and Nellie all piling on until Abigail laughingly demanded rescue. All right, give your poor mother some air." The children scattered, still buzzing with excitement. Abigail came to stand beside Josiah. "You meant what you said. About remembering." "I did. You've changed, you know, from the man I first met." "Have I?" "That man was empty, hollow, going through motions without meaning." She cupped his face. "This man has light in his eyes. You put it there. We put it there. All of us." Josiah kissed her softly, reverently, with all the gratitude he couldn't put into words. "I love you, Abigail Callahan." "I love you too, Josiah Callahan." From across the room, Charlotte groaned. "They're doing it again." "Doing what?" "Being all mushy." "Get used to it," Josiah said, not taking his eyes off his wife. "I plan on being mushy for a very long time." "How long?" "Forever." Charlotte rolled her eyes, but she was smiling. They all were. Winter came again. Not as harsh this year, not as cold. Or maybe it just felt that way because the cabin was full of warmth. On the anniversary of that first night. The blizzard, the rescue, the beginning of everything. Josiah sat by the fire with Nellie on his lap. "Tell me the story, Da." "What story?" "The snow story. The one where you found us." Josiah smiled. She asked for it every night now. "Once upon a time there was a lonely rancher who lived all alone in the mountains." "That's you." "That's me. One day a terrible blizzard came. The rancher thought he would spend another long winter by himself, but then he saw something in the snow." "What did he see?" "A family, a brave mama, and 5 children fighting to survive." "That's us. That's you." The rancher knew he had to help, so he threw his coat over them and carried them to safety. "And then what happened?" Josiah looked around the room. Charlotte was reading by the lamp. Samuel was helping the twins with their letters. Abigail sat near the fire, one hand on her growing belly, the other holding a cup of tea. His family. "And then," Josiah said softly, "they all lived happily ever after." "Really? Really?" Nellie snuggled closer. "I like that story." "So do I, sweetheart. So do I." Abigail caught his eye across the room and smiled. Outside, snow began to fall, soft and gentle, nothing like the blizzard that had brought them together. Inside, the fire crackled. Children laughed. Love filled every corner. Josiah Callahan had spent 5 years believing his story was over. He'd been wrong. It was only just beginning. And as the snow whispered against the windows and his family gathered close, Josiah finally understood what he'd been searching for all those lonely years. Not a place, not a purpose, just this. Just them. Just love. That was home. That was everything. That was enough.